Hello and welcome to the most generic podcast on the internet. My name is Josh Hawks. I am the 303 Ninja. And right over there, he is my podcasting partner for life. He is the other guy. It's Mr. Francis Fernandez. Oh shit, I forgot to hit the button again.
Like the most specific. It's the most specific podcast on
I almost forgot what the hell was going on there for a second. I know that we're missing our third person.
I know
it sucks.
Who is she amongst us? Okay, we're the Three Stooges. Who are you? You're Mo.
Well, I mean, I would be Mo, would I not?
I would be Curly. She'd be Larry. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I love it. You have a thing on the top. Oh no, we lost the follower. Oh no.
It's okay. Because then
that makes me sad.
No, but see, that's the thing. When it goes up to 20, we'll have something to celebrate.
And I love that it's
together.
we have a week to do it.
Well, I mean, if we don't, I'm just going to change it, but I figured, for the end of the month, have a goal for the end of the month.
So if we reach 20 followers, we'll change bikinis.
That would imply that we were wearing bikinis now.
Is what?
Here we go with the thing where it freezes for us for a little while.
But
yeah. Skype is shitting all over you.
I know it made me Max Headroom for a second there.
Oh, I miss Max. That was great, man. The movie, I don't know, but I don't recall the movie being super awesome. But
I don't even remember there being a movie.
There was a TV movie, I believe it was. No,
it's the 80s, of course.
I believe it was No, it wasn't.
Was it a theater movie? Oh,
I don't think it was. I'm having a hard time remembering. Real hard time remembering. But I do remember enjoying it as a kid, especially when it was just a commercial, because there was a lot of intrigue and what the hell is this? So what's going on, man? How's it been for the last week or so?
It's been going okay. Mostly it's just doing some last minute stuff for the big story anthology thing that I'm a part of. So that was cool to kind of continue to participate and share some feedback with some fellow writers and let them know how they fared as a writer and what I thought about their stories. And I've so far read, I think there's 17 separate stories, and I've read 5 of them. Well, 6 if you include my own, but there was 6 of them, and I'm impressed. There's a really huge variety of content out there, and it's cool. It's really cool that's what we get to see is just creative people kind of throwing themselves out there. So I'm excited for this thing to come out in a couple more months. We're getting closer. I love it. We're getting closer. November, I think, is the time when we get to really kind of just shell it out there, throw it out there, and let people know that it exists. So
yeah. Hey, there's Ginger. Say hi.
Hello.
No, it's really cool. I'm super proud of you for doing it, and it's going to be cool to say that I have yet another friend that is a published author.
We all need to be published in something. I think that's our goal is to be published. Everyone needs to be published in something.
I mean, hey man, we hit some goals that we didn't even know we had.
Yeah.
We got picked up by an agent.
We did.
That wasn't something I thought would happen ever. We had breakfast with Courage the Cowardly Dog and Data. We didn't have it with them, but they were in the same room, In
the same room. We had drinks technically with Nichelle Nichols and
exactly.
Yeah.
Look, when the people sit in the next table, the table next to you, you're eating the same. Especially when it was at the other joint, we're all eating the same stuff. So
Speaking of which, I missed that joint.
I miss a lot of joints.
A lot of joints. Wait, didn't you go to a convention recently?
Kind of funny you bring that up. So there was the Colorado Festival of Horror, and I did have a pass for it, and there was much anticipation. There was a lot of anxiety and worry as well, just because it would have been the first show back, and I didn't know how I was really feeling, and it was also unfortunately fell on birthday weekend.
Oh.
So there was a lot of plans and plans that didn't happen that fell through, but there were plans that kind of were eating up, or that would have, eaten up the majority of the day or the time of the weekend. So unfortunately, I did not go. I ended up bowing out early Saturday and being like, "Look, I don't think I'm going to make it at all. I apologize." It's just.
Do you have one coming up though?
There is not one coming up. No, there was going to be an anime show. There was the original anime show that I went to. That did happen this year. I didn't go to it. The second anime show I was really thinking about going to, but they have canceled. So
like I know that if I hate my family, I can go to San Diego Comic-Con during Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I mean, if you really hate them.
Yeah.
I think it's still, despite Thanksgiving weekend, I think it's still going to be a fairly good turnout. Whatever their max attendance number is going to be allotted for, I think they're going to reach it easily.
Oh yeah.
But it's San Diego Comic-Con is one of those things that people just fuck getting sick. I'm going. Not that's the attitude, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the attitude for Dragon Con. That's the attitude for a lot of places.
Apparently,
nowadays.
there wasn't many to very little to no cases that came out of Dragon Con.
Look, I mean, people are upset. Even there was one case that showed up on Twitter, and people were like furious. Like it was one out of the thousands upon thousands of people that were there. One at least confirmed one. Now, again,
it all depends on who reports back, right?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I have a funny feeling, this is the new normal. Like life will never go back to the way it was. So,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
As long as we can still podcast, I'm a happy camper.
Yeah, for sure. And as long as one day if we can jump ahead of one of these fads and maybe make some money from some poor schmuck that is willing to pay maybe thousands of dollars for a Pokemon Oreo thing. Have you seen this?
I did not see it. I'm amazed. I'm not. I saw on Twitter like a Sega Genesis game was going for like several $100,000. So
that's common. That is common, though. I mean, several $100,000 is a little extreme, I think. But
oh yeah, well yeah. Well, what is it? Mario Brothers sold for like $1 million, and like Mario World sold an unopened Mario World sold for like $2 million or something like that. So. Weird. So what about this Pokemon? Or no one eats it? Is no one going to eat it? Is it just not edible?
So, from what I understand, there's a few different variants of the boxes, and
it's a box.
In that, not like it's like a container, like an Oreos container.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's not the actual Oreo, but it's the container that.
Well, the wrapper is printed with a Pokemon design, but then the cookies themselves are random, dink, embossed with different Pokemon, like Gen 1 starter Pokemon or something like that.
It's like going into the woods.
What?
You're going into the tall grass. And random Pokemon. The woods.
So I don't know. I don't know how many different embossed cookies there is, but there's enough that apparently you need to get a few boxes to catch them all.
Well, my favorite kind of gimmicky food was, I don't remember when this was. I want to say it's at least 10 years ago, 5 years ago. They had like a Doritos bag that you can plug headphones into, and it played music from the Doritos bag.
Like Doritos chips.
Yeah, the Doritos chips, the
Wow.
potato chips. And they had like a little like MP3 player in there that was like with
Okay.
the aux cable like outward.
Okay.
And so you didn't have to open up the bag to listen to music. You just had to plug in your headphones, and then you could listen to whatever was playing on that. It's specific to like a movie or something. I'm like, that's super gimmicky, and I love it. Because who's gonna carry around a bag of chips with their headphones on, plugged
Right.
into the bag of chips? That's amazing.
The Skater Girl Zombie wanted to know if it was at least good music.
It was. I mean, it was supposed to be. It was a soundtrack to a movie, and I can't remember what movie it was, but it was a while ago, and it was my favorite gimmick for potato chips. But they have like Lady Gaga Oreo cookies, so I don't know. I'm not very impressed with Oreo in general because Oreo sells out to everyone. Oreo sells out to everyone. Doesn't care.
Speaking of just chips in general, today at the workplace, we get the big variety box of the different chips, right?
Sure, the Sam's Club box.
Yes. And so they're all snack size bags. And somebody pulled out a Cheetos Puff bag.
Oh, yeah, I love Cheetos Puffs.
Yeah. And when they went to move it from container to, say, the table, they realized...
Spilled it?
No.
Oh.
Even better. When they moved it, they realized there was a Cheeto Puff in the bag.
Wait, was it unopened?
It was unopened, and just you could shake it. It was full of air, and you could shake it, and it had one Cheeto Puff in it.
That's amazing.
And I said, save it. Don't open it. Save it. I was like, like if you contact Frito-Lay, they'll give you another snack bag.
Look,
But
someone buys freaking Jesus on a Cheeto. So
somebody will buy a mistake bag of anything or a variant of anything. There's collectors for everything, Francis.
Oh yeah, for sure. Look, I'm down with the collectors. I'm down with collectors because I used to collect stuff. I'm more of a digital hoarder than I am a regular, like a real hoarder. Like I don't really hoard like real things, but digitally I hoard everything. So I'm more power to people who hoard.
Now that I have a total of 6 terabytes to digitally hoard whatever I want, I have the ability to do that now.
I mean, I have like 4, and I haven't filled up any of my drives.
No, that's
6.
what I'm saying.
Damn.
Like the 2 that are on board the computer only scratch the surface. I have a 4 terabyte external that I've put, the smallest of tiny dents in, and I've had it for like a year and a half.
Well, you put movies, and
all of these videos show up
right
on that external. So
your SATA goes like 6. Like, who needs that much space? No one does.
No, but like when the 4 terabyte drive is on sale for like dirt cheap, you get it.
Oh yeah. No, I'm with you.
And then when you buy the computer's like, well, hey, I come with 2, and you're like, well, fuck it, then I have 6.
Use the 4 as a backup.
Other way around, really.
Partition.
We're
not gonna go there.
If I only remembered how. We'll get into that later. So to keep things light and fun, I guess. This week.
I'm not ready for the sad stuff.
Right. Is that? Yeah. Well, this weekend. Damn it! Wrong transition. I hit the wrong. Well, it's the right. I transition to the right picture. Wrong transition animation.
Oh.
I'm going to the theater this weekend for the first time since spring of last year, like early spring, maybe even Christmas of 19. Not going to see anything current Francis, I'm going to see a 35-year-old movie. A cartoon,
I mean,
at that.
is that the oldest movie you've ever watched?
In a theater?
In a theater that's been brought back?
Well, I mean, at this point, yes.
Okay.
Before this, it would have been Star Wars, but it would have been special edition Star Wars.
Yeah. Because that's cool. I mean, it's Transformers the movie. I mean, you get to hear, this is the touch.
I do.
Whatever it's.
I do, and I get to hear Sparkplug, Spike. I get to hear Spike say shit. Aw, shit. You know.
Is that there's only one licensed song in that movie, right? There's
a few. There's a few. There's a Eric Idle Weird Al song.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Dare to be stupid.
Dare to be stupid is on there. Yeah.
There's a few. It's a full soundtrack. It's a full soundtrack. But I'm excited. I mean, I saw it a few years ago. It would have been 5 years ago the last time I saw it, and it was cool. They gave me a poster.
That one on screen.
Very similar. And it was funny because it was like a teenage girl, and she was like, "Do you want the poster?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want the poster!" I was all excited, and I got my popcorn and my drink, and went into the theater, took pictures outside the theater, going to see Transformers, and it was cool. Instead of your normal pre-show BS at the for a regular show, this was all Transformers BS for the whole preview thing. And I walk into the theater. I think I'm the only one there.
Oh, I remember the story.
So I'm acting a fool, taking pictures and selfies and woo-hooing, and then finally I hear way up in the nosebleeds just a I'm like, oh shit.
Like, people only go to the nosebleeds because they want to do stuff that is
not during the fucking Transformers, man. You go to watch. Even though
are you kidding me? It doesn't matter the movie.
Oh, well.
I way back in the day when I was a much more friskier and much more bold person.
When it was,
I think it was
less sexual predator listless to do something in a theater.
Technically, I would be. Yeah, technically, me and my girlfriend at the time would be on a list. But I think it was like I think we were watching Seabiscuit.
No, I would definitely fool around during Seabiscuit.
Yeah. We just needed a movie, and we're like, "How long's the movie? It's still for 2 hours. Okay, we're gonna do some stuff in watching this movie."
Nice. How transition out of that?
You don't have to. Well, I mean, just that's cool that you're watching Transformers. Enjoy. Have some popcorn.
Yeah. Squirrel girl. Skater girl. I almost said squirrel girl. Skater girl. Skater girl zombie. Yes, you are correct. You do not have to be in the way back of the theater to do stuff in the theater. That is correct. You can be as bold and exhibitionist as you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, just we weren't looking for attention, and having worked at the movie theater in the past, that was the spot that my girlfriend at the time and I took. It was the spot that, I mean, you don't want a black light in that corner that we were in, because I'm pretty sure that was the corner that all couples go to get whatever. So it was a very funny and just very interesting time. But yeah.
Lily Morgan.
Yeah. See, well, I mean, look, you have your voice, and Optimus Prime has his voice, Lee. So I totally get why your first crush would be Optimus.
That does make sense.
Got that voice.
That does make sense. That's awesome.
Because he has that sexy faceplate over his mouth, because he's like one of the few Transformers that you can't actually see his mouth.
That's true. Trying to move it around.
You got the touch.
You would if you had the right person. Some civilians that got to touch things that most civilians don't get to touch, Francis.
Ooh,
also happened.
The Mona Lisa. They got to touch the Mona Lisa.
No.
Um, they got to touch someone's soul.
All of ours, maybe.
All of ours. Oh, so they touched our spirit somehow. Please tell me how they.
I mean, they could have kids in the hall crushed us as well, if they, if they were joking around.
What a reference! Oh my goodness! All right.
From the Wayback Machine. Here's a guy that pulled out a '90s reference.
Well, they're bringing it back.
I'm okay with the old. So SpaceX launched the Inspiration 4 crew last Saturday. I can't remember what day it was. It was middle of the week, actually, because they landed on Saturday. So let's just say it was Tuesday. Mm-hmm. It was really cool to see, something that they had been building up for a long time. What was really cool about it, Francis, is that it was for civilians. There was a millionaire on there. But he funded the entire project, which was a thing for children's cancer, pediatric cancer. Okay. SpaceX modified the Dragon capsule. Okay. So instead of it having just a hatch to go to the space station, they installed a gigantic windshield. It was a dome.
With wiper.
It would have been cool. Not that you could spray it with liquid and wipe it, you're in space, but, whatever. It would have been cool anyway. But no, they installed this dome, so while they were at an altitude, I guess you could still say altitude, a height, that's one of the same. Distance from Earth, they were higher than the space station. So they looked down. Oh, wow. They could have looked down on the space station.
They were actually in outer space.
They were yes.
In low orbit.
Yes, wow. And that's what I was getting to, is that Sir Lancelot, what the fuck is his name?
Which one? Richard Branson?
Sir Richard Branson. He went like 70-ish thousand.
Okay.
Right around the Kármán line. I don't know if it's 70,000. But right around the Kármán line, which is the separation between atmosphere and space. Spice. Dick Rocket, tickled. the Dick Rocket French tickled the Kármán line as well.
Sure. Which this is? You said this was. It's called Inspiration. What was the name of the ship?
Inspiration 4 was the name of the mission. There were 4 people in the Dragon capsule. Yes, just the tip. There were 4 people in the Dragon capsule. One was a pediatric cancer survivor and now doctor or medical student.
Okay.
And also, I believe, the first amputee in space.
Mm-hmm.
There was the millionaire guy was like some sort of a jet pilot, I don't know. He had hours in a jet pilot, as a jet pilot. There was a lady that was in the astronaut program that didn't make it all the way into an astronaut, I don't believe. But now she got to, at least go to space. And some other person.
Well, I'm looking. Well,
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
He was the pilot of right. The thing, even though it's the capsule autonomous, but he was the pilot. Ding ding.
So yes. So they made it to 0 G's, according to this. It doesn't tell me who the people are, which is kind of funny. It's just like, hey, here's some people. here are the pictures of the people. Oh, here they are. Right. It's Haley Arsenault, Jared Isaacman, Sean Proctor, and Chris Sambrowski. And they were the 4 people who made it out into space. Now, according to this, it's still low orbit, according to this. It says, congratulations, Inspiration 4. Low Earth orbit is now more accessible for more people to experience the wonders of space. Yes. We'll look forward to the future, where NASA is one of the many customers in the commercial space market, onward and upward. So if they went past, International Space Station can't be low orbit, can it?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's.
It is.
I guess so. Oh wow. Okay.
In terms of, I believe it's height is how it's referred to at that point.
How many Colorados are they? Is I guess the question you have to ask is how many Colorados?
Yes, because I'm an American and fuck meters. I don't know how many Colorados.
Who does meters? No, it doesn't.
Most people, most of the time.
I know. Well, okay, yes, we're like one of like 2 places that don't use.
Right. But no, as far as height or altitude goes, they were above the space station. I believe the number was they were with their height they were able to get 16 rotations or 16 sunrises. And the space station gets 15.
Oh.
So enough distance to get an extra rotation, basically. So that's really cool. Really awesome. They splashed down on Saturday. It was successful. New camera angle that I hadn't seen before from inside the parachute chamber.
Space. Yeah.
So when the parachutes first shot out, the drogue chutes, it exposed the camera. Well, the camera housing was inside that area, so you look up to the parachutes as you see them bloom open and whatnot. It's really cool. They apparently, it is a fairly successful mission. Apparently they had a problem with the toilet.
Oh, look.
There's four people in 3 days using the one toilet. There's going to be a problem. I'm just being honest.
In space, no one can hear you poo.
I'm sure they can hear you quite well.
No, it's fun. So I know what I'm going to do in the next few months. I'm going to join the 2 reality shows, Space Hero, and Discovery Channel's Who Wants to Be an Astronaut.
Okay,
I'll go.
I mean, I've shared the story many a time on here about how I wanted to be an astronaut when I wanted to grow up. Dink dink. And then sitting down and watching the Challenger explode during school.
Yeah.
That I looked at my friend at the time and I was like, I need to pick a new career in life. And I've always said from that point in my life, I've had no direction at all as far as a career went.
You want so wait, it was astronaut or nothing, huh?
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, like
there was always the dream of being Godzilla, being a ninja, those kind of things. But for some reason in my head, an astronaut was more attainable.
I mean, well, astronaut is also a really classy job to have. I mean, you want to get, if you want to impress people, you tell them you're an astronaut. So, sure. You're an astronaut? Like, yeah, been up to the moon a couple times, been to been to the International Space Station a few times, Yeah. Yeah. When you go to the bathroom, you have to you dock your butt on like a hole in the wall to poo. It's great. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with the pooing thing. It's just so weird. But because I mean, look, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I've been kind of directionless since I gave up my dream of becoming president of the United States. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I didn't even know that. I did not know that about you.
Yeah,
almost 10 years of friendship. Had no idea.
I think I mentioned it in passing probably, but in passing, like I never really talked about it. But yeah, when I was doing my Johnny Carson impressions and my Ronald Reagan impressions into my little boombox, all I wanted to be was like, you know what I'm going to be when I grow up? I'm going to be president of the United States. And they're like, yes, you will. And they patted me on the head, and they're like, yeah, no, I'm going to be president one day. Yeah, you'll see.
Go ahead.
Yeah, as I do my, Nancy, we should probably do, and doing my terrible Ronald Reagan impression.
I will say it until I'm blue in the face, Francis. There is no such thing as a terrible impression, because even if it's a missed impression of somebody, you just created a new character.
That's true, I guess.
So as long as you can harness that bad impression, dink dink, you have a new character.
one day, even in super geeked up, maybe I'll finally pull out my prospector. Hey, Willie, I'm going to go get you the gold down those mines. One of these days, I'll be able to actually properly use my prospector impersonation. But
one
yes,
day, one day.
one day. But yeah, good for them. I'm glad that they made it back safe and that it was a successful mission. And I can't wait for all the other millionaires to be able to go up into space
Yes.
as they make Elysium a reality.
You know, when it gets down and as cheap as flying to California, you know, I'll jump on board. It'll be cool. Because one thing that I did notice, Francis, and if you go back and watch the launch, they show a few shots from inside the Dragon as they're ascending. And I don't know if the camera's on a shock mount or it's just that smooth and calm of a ride, because they were just chilling, hanging back. Like they weren't doing a whole lot of, you know, waving around and whatnot, but you can clearly see they were just like, oh, this is, yeah, it's rumbling. You know, I'm sure it's rumbling quite a bit, but it looked less violent than a shuttle launch did 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. Well, 20 years ago, you had people gripping their chairs for dear life, and like their eyes, they're just sweat dripping from their face as they get ready to launch. Right now, it's just like, hold on, hold on. I hope I don't spill my espresso all over my body.
Right.
It's like, oh no, they're fine. They just drink it up. And thank you for whatever you thought was really good.
I'm sure it was the Prospect.
Yeah, if it was the Prospector, great. If it was the Ronald Reagan, even better.
Props,
if anyone remembers what he sounds like.
I again, as long as you start with well.
But yeah, so there you go. Good job. Inspiration.
Yeah, so something I noticed the other day, and you know, something that we missed out on the last show, Francis, friend of the show, Elvira, she turned 70.
Oh man, is she friend of the show? I should have known. I would have loved that.
I mean, she did give you a press pass to her once named after her Comic-Con.
Yeah, her and Stan Lee
Yeah.
had Kamikaze together for a brief while, for about 4 or 5 years, before handing it over just to Stan Lee and then handing it over to Los Angeles. Cassandra Peterson looking absolutely beautiful still at, you said 70?
70.
Yeah. It wasn't until I think 5 years ago that I even knew she did like a Playboy spread. So
I didn't know that was even a thing.
Yeah, she got naked for the camera.
Well,
I mean, like, that's interesting.
I mean,
she Elvira
basically was every Friday night on, you know, USA Up all night. Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
Oh, thank you. Huh?
Do you remember that? USA's Up all night?
I did not have cable, so I do not remember that.
Okay, fair. She used to host on the USA Network before, you know, is USA Network even a thing anymore?
Yes, it's still there.
Okay. Well, when it was like a fledgling channel, Elvira would host horror shows on his Friday or Saturday nights.
With or without the Crypt Keeper?
Tales of the Crypt may have, like, reruns may have been on there. I don't remember. That guy, the Crypt Keeper guy at shows, I say today, I mean within the last 5 years or so, that dude carries around a picture on a stick of the Crypt Keeper.
Oh yeah, because he's a voiceover guy.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and he'll just, somebody will walk by and he'll put the picture up to his face and he'll do the laugh, or he'll do something Crypt Keeper-y. And people are like, oh shit.
He's like the Lou Ferrigno of voice actors. He has the one shtick.
Yeah, I wish somebody had told me that Lou Ferrigno was deaf before my crew and I went to go interview him.
Wait, how did you not know he's been really? I thought you said he.
I only know him from the Hulk TV show.
I think he was deaf during the Hulk, though, wasn't he?
He's been deaf his whole life.
Yeah. Okay.
But the thing is that I saw him on the Hulk TV show. He doesn't talk. He just grunts. He growls. He had the Snickers commercials, but he did very little talking. Right? And I didn't hear it. And it wasn't until he was on it was like a car show that he was on. And it was right around the same time as the interview happened. And I was like, I think he might be deaf. Possibly. Or like, it's weird because I could hear it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then when we did the interview, I was kind of playing the producer role, making sure, audio was okay. And our buddy Che was doing the interview. And as soon as he answered Che's first question, I was like, holy crap, he is deaf. I had no idea. It's just not, Lou Ferrigno was not in my circle of people that I followed.
Well, okay. I mean, yeah.
I mean, shame me if you want. It's fine.
I don't know. There's no shame. I mean, like, we know things when we know them. It's like, we can't know everything, but wow, that's crazy. But anyway, I saw Cassandra at Comic.
You guys were on a first name basis. I thought we were still on an Elvira basis, but that's awesome.
No, me and Cass go way back.
Okay, that's awesome.
So and I saw her. I would say 5 or 6 years ago, and she looked fantastic. Like she had her own booth, where in the front were Elvira pinball machines. Mm-hmm. And then you could walk in, you had to pay like $40, and you walk in, you can take a picture with her and, shake her hand or whatever and talk to her a little bit. And it was always a long line. I mean, Stanley got the longer line.
Sure.
But Elvira had a nice long line. And she was not in makeup. She was just Cassandra Peterson. And she was great. She was lovely. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, she's not 65. She looks amazing. Right. She looks just absolutely amazing. And then I went on a deep dive. I went home like, she really, like, it's got to be a lie, because it was on her birthday or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or it might have been on her birthday. Anyway, so I was just like, I need to learn more. And that's when I learned all the dirty stuff about her. I'm like, oh, I get it now. Mm-hmm. I get it.
I don't know much about the lore or the multiple of lookalikes that are out there, the official lookalikes.
I don't. Yeah.
But I think it's awesome that she found something that worked in the late 70s or early 80s, and just was like, "Fuck it, I'm Elvira."
Yeah, look, I mean, imagine coming up with a character and then just being like, and it wasn't just the boobs, right? Even though there was that was a lot to do with it, but she was a character. Like, she was this person that like was energetic and fun and like, let's introduce this, and she was in on the joke, and she was like, yeah, let's do this and let's do that, and here's this other ghoulish movie we're gonna watch, this B movie. Plan 9 from Outer Space.
A classic, Francis. 10 points for you for pulling out a super cult classic title.
I couldn't think of because I had to watch it. I had to watch that. I had to watch a bunch of these weird B movies.
The Plan 9 is probably one of my father's favorite sci-fi flicks ever.
Yeah. Well, isn't oh my God. Vincent Price is in it, right?
I think.
And the guy who goes from Thriller, Y'all's Neighborhood.
Dude, the Vincent Price's part in Thriller, just I first heard that on a record in somebody's house, and it scared the shit out of me. And then you see the video, and you hear Vincent Price, and it scared the shit out of me. And I'm like, why do I know this voice? This voice is freaking me out. Wait a second. He's the guy on the Batman TV show.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I can't remember the villain's name. It was Egg something. Vincent Price did Egghead. Yeah, it was Egghead. Why can't I remember it? Yeah, Vincent Price did Egghead, and it was just something that was triggering my brain, and I hate that fucking word. But yeah, it was Vincent Price, and it freaked me out. He's in one of my favorite cult. Well, I don't know if it's a cult classic movie or not, but it's called Dead Heat. It's got Joe Piscopo and Treat Williams in it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Chain Heat, which is like a completely different movie.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. That's a different podcast.
After Dark.
That's an After Dark show. But you know, Francis, it's kind of funny that you mentioned, and we both kind of mentioned characters, people that find characters and run with them, and sometimes they run with them for their whole lives.
Yeah, that becomes their identity.
It becomes their identity.
Yeah, which didn't happen in this case, but it's going to happen in this other case.
Well, before we get all the way to that, I just want to talk very highly about the docuseries Dark Side of the Ring. It is a wrestling docuseries.
Oh, I thought it was like Lord of the Rings. But
no,
Dark Side of it.
Dark Side of the Ring is the show I made you watch.
No, I know.
Okay. So they're on their third season. So they've done I think this season was 14 episodes, so let's just say they've done upwards of 30 episodes now. Showcasing sometimes a couple people, but most of the time showcasing just a wrestler or somebody in the wrestling business. Somebody who had Skater Girl, it is on Vice. The episode that we're going to talk about, you can find on YouTube, but we'll get to that part. But yeah, it's on Vice otherwise. Thursdays at 7 Eastern. You're welcome, Vice. So, Dark Side of the Ring. The first season, we got the story of Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. People, Francis, you're going to be like, who the fuck are these people?
Don't mind me. I'm just going to stare at this,
Right. But what I'm going to say to you, Francis, and what I would say to anybody that is not a wrestling fan or is a casual wrestling fan, to check these series out because they are well done. Even the little bit of dramatization that happens for wrestling fans, the people, the actors, the wrestlers, or whoever the fuck they got to do some of these like in the shadows.
Yeah, I was going to say they never really show their faces. It's usually just kind of gestures and stuff.
The body movements and the body types are just like spot on to the people that they're talking about. It's amazing to me. But it's done by a pair of dudes that were just wrestling fans, and they really dove into people's lives and figured a lot of things out and exposed a lot of things. If this series has done anything, it's in some cases put people in a lot of light, or it's shed a lot of light.
Well, look, I mean, I have no love for anyone anymore. After
from the 80s and 90s wrestling, the era of 80s and 90s wrestling, you have no love for any of them anymore.
No, like it. Well, we'll talk about it when we're actually talking about it. But boy, oh boy, just like
so. I encourage you all to check the series out, especially if you are interested in wrestling. There are episodes that I watched that I was like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know who they're talking about right now, but I'm intrigued. But I'm a mark, so you show me anything about wrestling, and I'm probably gonna watch it.
Well, what's his face? The Arrow guy has a show. Stephen Amell has like a show called I forget what it's called, but it's like
Heels.
a wrestling show.
It's called Heels.
Heels, okay.
Yeah, because there's heels and baby faces, or heels and faces. So I bring up the whole dark side thing because an episode came out last Thursday. That was very eye-opening for a lot of people in and out of wrestling, and exposed a few people to what their true feelings are, I think. And There's one wrestler that I'm just like, fuck that guy. I don't, whatever. And there's a referee that I may or may not have at one time chanted his name because he's got a fun name to chant at a show.
Is it fun, really?
Look, wrestling fans will chant anything.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll get to that, Francis. We'll get to
All
that.
right.
So it was called, as the picture is up here, and this picture, I believe, is from Pro Wrestling Tees. So just full disclosure.
Wait. There's a T-shirt of this episode, or is that really known as the plane ride from hell?
It's the story is known as the plane ride from hell.
So it's a known story.
It is a known story.
Okay.
This story, Francis, has been very lighthearted and talked about as if it was just a bunch of giggling dudes acting like children. The WWE, which I thought about pulling frames of, but I got scared. They did an animated short talking about it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And made total light of the whole thing. This episode of Dark Side of the Ring showed it from a different perspective. This time, instead of focusing on a wrestler, we focused on a story, and we got it. The most of the storytelling was from the stewardess / flight attendant / I don't know what the proper term for the people that are on the airplane. Flight attendant. Yeah. I don't know because I always fuck up.
Well, so the synopsis, I guess, of it, just to give a general idea,
Sure.
is that I guess at one point WWE got big enough to where they would perform overseas, and they flew out to London for a big I guess show or whatever. And on the flight back, they were stuck on the tarmac for 7 hours because of delays, and as such, they got wasted. They drank 3 alcohol carts full of booze in the span of 7 hours. And then as they flew back, a 14-hour flight back to, I guess, New York or LA, probably LA from there.
New York.
New York,
because WWE is based in New York, with WWF at the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they flew to New York, 14-hour flight to New York, and just it was the plane ride from hell. And it's told from the perspective of different wrestlers and, like, I guess the talent guy and the flight attendant who was like one of 2, I want to say, flight attendants who had to look after the wrestlers, because this is a specialized plane which is meant to charter athletes and performers back and forth. So that's pretty much the general idea of what this story is.
Yeah,
like.
it was
everything that went wrong.
A modified 757.
Yeah,
it was all captain's chairs and couches.
Yeah.
So 3 alcohol carts.
Yeah.
Think about that. An average flight doesn't even go through a alcoholic cart.
Yeah, according to
Now it's different. I'm sure private plane and commercial plane flights, as far as alcohol distribution goes, I'm sure is completely fucking different. I'm sure it is.
No, but I mean, even she said it was like this was unusual to them.
Yeah. So on top of that, Francis, you're missing out on the part where they were, most of the wrestlers that were on the show comically referred to as H-bombing.
Well, I was going to save it for the detailed stuff. I just wanted to give us a brief synopsis on the overview, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll get that. So anyway, there were some comical things that happened on this flight after the alcohol was being consumed and after the flight had happened. Some people that were wrestling fans out there might remember the name of X-Pac, or the 1-2-3 Kid, or Six, same guy. Don't worry about it.
I'm not going to know any names. I'm just going to say that one guy who did this, because I don't know any of their names.
So he was a wrestler, and one of the agents, Michael Hayes, who had at the time a very long blonde ponytail, very proud of his hair. X-Pac cut his ponytail off and kept it, actually, but it was all Michael Hayes was sleeping. That's fucked up to cut somebody's hair, but at least its hair will grow back in most people's cases.
Right. So yeah, because a lot of one of the big kind of themes to this story is that wrestlers like to play pranks on each other.
Big time.
And one of the pranks involves apparently roofing people, which was like the biggest thing. I'm like, what? You guys just roofie people? It's like, yeah, we roofie other wrestlers and we like paint things on their face and we, cut their hair. Or sometimes my favorite was like how this one dude was like, and sometimes we just roofie the women so we can have our way with them, as if that's a normal, okay thing to do. I'm like, what are you talking about?
So,
yeah, we just kind of roofie the ladies,
And I believe that was just incredible.
Is that the guy with the hair with the double ponytail? Or was that the other guy?
No, there's a bald guy that was also saying
there's a bald
that.
guy. Yeah.
But when he talked about it, I mean, I'm no professional, but at least he looked like he was not proud of those days at all. What I do want to say as a slight, just an aside, I went into a deep dive this weekend on podcasts of old time wrestlers that were talking about this, and I'm not a professional. I shouldn't even be bringing it up, really. But when wrestling was in the territory days, when it wasn't a national thing, right? You would go to the territory. Let's say that I don't even understand the territory borders, but there were territories, much like the U.S. was territories back before they were states. Mm-hmm. You would work in that territory for a certain amount of time. You might be there for 3 or 4 months in that same arena every week. So you got to know everybody. You got to know all the cops that were there. You got to know the people that were there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the antics and whatnot that happened in the territory days were amongst the wrestlers.
Yeah.
Right? And then when wrestling blew up in the it's all throughout the 80s and most of the 90s. This was in the early 2000s when wrestling, again, kind of had a resurgence. These guys thought they were rock stars on top of... These were a lot of the old-time territory guys that were given a bunch of money and then a shit ton of alcohol and drugs.
Right.
And the pranks that were amongst the boys, as wrestlers will always talk about the boys. They're talking about the other wrestlers.
Who was the one female wrestler lady that was there that did the interview?
Her name's Terry Runnels. Mm. She is the ex-wife of Dustin Rhodes, real name Dustin Runnels. Gold Dust, you've probably heard the name Gold Dust.
I've heard of Gold Dust. Yeah.
They, I think, were married. No, they had just divorced.
They were divorced at the time, yeah.
And Dustin was known addict, and was struggling with his addiction, and got a hold of the PA. And was singing songs on the plane's PA. Yes. Intoxicated, and the flight attendant was like trying to get the microphone back, and Dustin's 270-pound dude. You're not getting anything back from him.
Yeah, and I guess with this, like a lot of what was it? 45 minutes, I think. 45 minutes.
It's a 45-minute show.
Yeah.
Hour broadcast.
With commercials, right? Yeah. So the general idea of the show was there were all of these guys, when given this scenario, it was all leading up to one specific really bad event. But it was kind of just showing like, hey, these guys fool around. They they joke. They're a little unstable. They're a little they have problems, and
definitely
they have all of these issues that they have to kind of get through.
No means am I about to justify or defend anything. I'm just reporting on what I saw. Uh-huh. But yeah, like from what I've done a little bit of research on, wrestlers do pranks, and back in the territory days, there was a lot of pranks, and there were no women, or very little to no women in the locker room.
Right.
And again, go back, drugging anybody, period, is not a good thing. Period. Right? It doesn't matter who you're drugging. It's not a good thing. And a fucking stupid prank. Cutting somebody's hair, fucking hilarious. may have done it before.
Again, the pranks that they were doing per se were usually harmless, right? In the sense of like, okay, your hair's going to grow back. It is a little salty, but you know.
Well, especially when they put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the locker room after returning back.
But then what's his face threw it away when he found it.
Yeah.
But it was all of like, hey, boys will be boys type of mentalities.
Right.
Like they've been doing this, they've been doing this for ages.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these wrestlers have been in the game for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of old hat for them. But also they feel like they're the superstar. They're the big kahuna. They're the king, especially Ric Flair, right?
Yeah, I totally burying the lead on the Ric Flair thing. I'm still burying. We'll get there in a second.
But I'm just saying, like, but he's an example of someone who feels like he's kind of king of the hill, top of the pops type of person. And so everyone, again, we're like learning about these people and learning about how they see this type of behavior, and how it's almost like, yeah, this happens. And even the flight attendant was like, yeah, this happens, right? Like we've seen it in other flights. We've seen it with athletes and other celebrities on these special chartered flights.
Right. She said, like, don't get too friendly with anybody,
Right. They're a little flirty. They try not to flirt back too much. They just want to be friendly, but it can be misconstrued as flirting. So they always try to find that line.
Right. And really, men are pigs, right?
Well, look, men aren't pigs. The thing is that everyone gives into the peer pressure, right? Sure. Like people give into peer pressure. People give into bad situations. And luckily there are a few people of level-mindedness, and there were a few in this story of level-mindedness who thought better and thought, no, we shouldn't be doing this. We should probably stop. We should probably not do these things. Well, okay, Skater Girl agrees with you that men are pigs. But I think that a lot of the men are pigs thing is again this weird need for some men to feel tough and have this bravado about them and be like, look how macho I am because I'm doing this thing. Right. No matter how stupid it is. Right. It's their way of kind of like, this is how I show off that I'm a quote unquote man. Right. And definitely in the early 2000s, 90s, early 2000s, this was happening in the early 2000s, that stuff was rampant everywhere. Right. Like we're in a very like men are men type of things, boys will be boys type of thing. Yep. And we've evolved since then. We've learned better since then that people are responsible for their actions. But back then they're like, whatever, let's roofie everyone and drink alcohol till we pass out and cut our hairs. So.
Right. So I wrote a few names down just as I was watching it.
I won't know who they are, but give them to me.
Scott Hall / Razor Ramon. His story through the entire thing is basically he was so drugged up that he slept through the entire 14-hour flight. Yeah. He was so intoxicated that Just Incredible, which is one of the greatest wrestling names ever, ended up having to carry him out of the plane, put him into a wheelchair, and get him through customs by making up some story that he had some sort of condition. Thought he was dead. Yeah, at one point they all thought he was dead.
Yeah, they did a Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, they basically Weekend at Bernie's him through customs. Yeah. Upon arrival back in the States, he was promptly fired, not for that, but for what he did to the stewardess.
Oh yeah, well, we'll
flight attendant. Well,
the stewardess is like the main kind of the center.
All right. Well, okay. Story. So don't let me forget that then. Yeah. We also talked to referee Mike Chioda, the man that I referenced earlier, that people chant his name. Because
in
it's
like
fun
a Sharona sort of way, or is it?
Mike Chioda.
Okay, not in
as a crowd, it's a thing. Nikki Sixx Wrestling Edition. I don't understand the reference. So Mike Chioda, wrestler, referee, piece of shit. Yeah. Because everything was fucking hilarious to him. He did not see wrong or bad in anything that was talked about the entire thing.
No.
He thought everything was
boys guys.
He thought, boys will be boys, everything's fucking hilarious. AEW has not worked with him since 2019. Definitely, I mean, they haven't come out and said anything yet, but I seriously doubt they'll be working with him anytime soon. Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer is the guy you talked about earlier with the 2 double ponytail thing. ECW veteran. And behind the scenes, Impact Wrestling executive. Maybe not executive, but he was important to their production.
Okay.
Tommy Dreamer, also asshole, cold-hearted piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of these guys who really thought nothing that happened on this flight or any of the antics that happened, period.
Well, because we keep not talking about the big one.
I'm getting to it. We talked about Gold Dust, Dustin Rhodes, intoxicated singing on the PA.
Yeah.
They tried to get the PA from him. They couldn't get it from him until he passed out. And Dustin did come to the flight attendants' aid. Yeah, I didn't want to say save, but aid later in the story. Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, and Brock Lesnar getting into a fight in the aisleway, and also in the seats, where they were slamming each other around. The overhead bins were breaking, and slammed into the emergency door 1 or 2 times.
Which apparently, no matter how many times they slammed against it, would not have opened that door.
No.
But people were afraid that it was going to open the door and suck everyone out of the plane.
There was a story, way back in the day, of an NWA or an AWA wrestler trying to open the door of a prop plane.
Oh, jeez.
But they were slamming each other against the door. And
who's the dude that said, "Oh no, they're just play fighting. They're not actually fighting. That's just play fighting." Who was that guy?
I think that was JR.
Okay.
You talking about the guy that had the stroke?
I don't remember.
The older man that had the.
I think it was. He was just like, oh. No, I guess he went. He saw the fighting, and he's like, "Oh, they're not really fighting. That's just play fighting." I'm like, they're causing immense damage. That's not play fighting.
I think that was JR.
Okay.
But if they were to slam each other against the fuselage, that's a different story. That could, that those airplane walls, if you will, are not meant to be slammed against or punctured in any way.
Pressure issue, I guess.
But yeah, so they're fighting. Other names I wrote down, like I said, Justin Credible, Jim Ross, JR. JR was the vice president of talent. He was technically responsible for all of those people. And really, I feel like somebody of importance should have been like, "Yo, motherfucker, sit down." And then he did say at one point, like, somebody should have maybe even said, "Sit down, shut up, get some sleep."
He felt like that there were no quote unquote adults in the room to kind of wrangle the children.
Yes.
Wrangle the children.
We talked about Terry Runnels, and at one point the off-camera interviewer asked her, there was an instance where Brock allegedly, we'll say, or did.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Expose himself to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, he exposed himself to me and I just didn't sell it and turned around and walked away.
And
no
the guy's
sell.
like, did they always tell you to no sell the things that happen to you? And she's like, gotta no sell it.
So just as an aside, selling in wrestling is, when you get punched in the face, dink dink, you sell it as if you got punched in the face. Ow, that shit hurt. You just kicked me in the ribs. Ow, that shit hurt. So selling it would be like responding.
Yeah, actually saying something happened as opposed to no selling it, which is like keeping it to yourself.
Yes. Rob Van Dam, he was also on the flight. I'm sure there were things that he talked about, but Rob smoked so much fucking weed, I'm sure he was asleep for most of it. Michael Hayes and his missing ponytail, I still to this day is fucking hilarious. All right, so the big thing of the entire show centered really around Ric Flair.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows Ric Flair. Woo! Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. The guy with the speech impediment. He's
Does
been
he have a speech impediment, really?
yes.
Oh, wow.
Listen to him talk sometime.
Okay.
He's been wrestling since the early 70s.
When he was a wee babe.
He wasn't. Ric Flair, I don't think was ever young.
No.
He was an old man when I got into wrestling again back in the 90s. He was an old man then. He's old as shit now. But the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. He was the old man in the club, the captain of the squad, the leader of the locker room, if you will. Mm-hmm. And Ric Flair he lives his gimmick. As in, there is no separation between whatever the fuck Ric Flair's real name is and Ric Flair the wrestler. Mm-hmm. There is no separation. Kind of like Alice Cooper. Mm-hmm. Remember when we met Alice Cooper?
Yeah.
We thought we met Vincent, but nope, that was all fucking Alice. So he lives his gimmick. And again, going back to the territory pranks with the boys, apparently one of the things he loved to do and the boys loved to see was when Rick would get down to nothing, his butt booty ass, put on one of his expensive, extravagant robes, and prance around doing the Ric Flair strut, butt booty ass naked.
Yep.
Also, what he used to like to do is apparently open up his robe wide open and helicopter his penis around and around and around.
Which apparently he had quite the penis, according to some of the people that were there.
Tommy.
He definitely had a hammer.
As Tommy Dreamer said it, he had a hammer. Now, when you're in a locker room with the boys, maybe that's the thing that happens. I personally have never been in a locker room where any kind of dick antics ever happened. Mostly because I was in elementary school and middle school, so nobody was really comfortable with themselves.
In high school, I remember being, in PE, in the high school locker rooms, like nobody did anything weird like that. Like people were very kind of... yeah, I get. Well, I mean, maybe he was singing "Spin Me Round." Yeah, maybe. But yeah,
I once knew a guy that did a thing called the noise. It's very similar to the helicopter, only he didn't have a hammer. He had a toy hammer. He had a Legos hammer.
Well,
but he had a huge sack, so he would thrust his genitalia normally in your face, and his sack would go up above his no dick and slap his abdomen, and he called it the noise. And again, amongst your dudes, maybe that's a thing that happens, but when you try to do it to my girlfriend, I'm not okay with that. Neither was she. Anyway, that's an aside. So Ric Flair, during this flight from hell, apparently, and according to Rick, which I'll get to in a second, is alleged that this instance was an alleged thing that happened.
Well, it's a he said, she said.
Yeah. He said, she said. The flight attendant said that Rick was doing his Ric Flair dance in his nakedness in his robe, and more or less cornered her in the galley, which is in the back of the plane, where the food carts are and whatnot, and proceeded to basically helicopter her, or helicopter to her without letting her get by. It's a small area. And then forced her hand onto him. And so Rick has very, what's the right word? Adamantly?
Yep.
Said that this is not what happened. This is not at all what happened. There were other people on the show that agreed with this statement that this did not happen. There's just as many people that said it did happen. So, we're not here to judge that. But after this episode has aired, a lot of things have happened, Francis.
Okay, good, because they tell the story, and because I want to hear what the aftermath was. They tell the story, and one of the things was that talent dude says, "Okay, we get back to wherever we land," and they had a show 24 hours after they landed, but before that show began, they fired a bunch of people who were on that plane.
Yes.
Right. They just let him go and said, "Hey, you did this, this, and this. You are no longer there."
Mm-hmm.
And the producer was like, "So why did nothing happen to Ric Flair?" Right? Because nothing happened to him.
Yes.
He kind of went by scot-free.
Jim Ross was the one that they were questioning, JR. Mm-hmm. And he was like, he was very almost hesitant to answer the question.
Well, he just said, "I don't know," or something like that.
Well, he said he's a made man.
Oh, he's a made man. That's right. He did say that. Yeah.
He got a pass.
But
he was very hesitant. It was true. I believe it.
Yeah.
But it was I think it was hard for JR to say. I think JR has a lot of regret over the entire situation.
Oh, well, you could hear it in his voice. He regretted the whole, like, he wished he could have stopped it sooner.
Yes.
And he didn't, not letting 3 drink carts of booze, be drunk, and B, like, hey, I know we're all kids in a playground, but let's act like adults for a second.
Right.
Which again, I believe, like I said, there was that one dude who tried to, like, when Ric Flair was doing the whole, hey, touch my pee-pee, there was one wrestler who went on the PA and told him to stop. Or something like that.
He didn't get on the PA. It was Dustin Rhodes that jumped up and was like, "Hey, you're taking this too far. Go sit down."
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
the same guy that would not give up the PA mic, earlier.
Yeah, because she was saying how how traumatizing experience it was because people were witnessing this and nobody was stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, nobody tried to come to my, like, not something to the effect of where, like, I don't think she wanted someone to necessarily come to her rescue, but somebody should have at least told them, hey, this isn't cool, stop.
Right.
And she just recently had a baby and she had to go to her husband. Like, there was this big, like, thing, this whole backstory she was telling, and I'm like, oh man, it was a lot.
It was, and that's why it was such a great episode. But to go back to what you were saying, upon arrival back to the States, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, fired. Mm-hmm. Because after they landed, she tried, the flight attendant that they really focused on the entire episode, tried to it was shortly before landing, tried to wake him up. And offer him breakfast, and he reached across, grabbed her by the shirt, pulled her so close and so hard that buttons were broke on her shirt. And amongst the multitude of things he wanted to do to her, she did mention that he wanted to lick her.
That's right. And didn't he get licked? Did she get licked?
I want to say that she did. But either way, upon arrival, Scott Hall was fired. There was a couple other names that got fired that I didn't write down because Scott Hall is the only one that I remembered.
Because the other ones did just stupid stuff and not to her. Like they just did stupid
shit. But Tommy Dreamer, going back to what you're kind of saying, he was the one that was defending Ric Flair the entire time, saying this is not a big deal. Why do I'm gonna paraphrase here, Francis.
Yeah, go for it.
But he basically said that everybody gets so offended by things so easily these days. Right now, I'm probably offending somebody with my haircut because I'm 50 years old and I have 2 ponytails. I have a double ponytail haircut, and I'm sure that offends somebody.
Which is the dumbest comparison, the stupidest comparison.
Completely. Yeah. Sexual misconduct, sexual assault, and double ponytails are not even in the same fucking sport. They're not even the same.
Well, his justification for the double ponytail is like, I'm just glad I still have my hair, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
I used to fucking think Tommy Dreamer was the shit back in the ECW days.
Yeah.
Even when WWE would have ECW Veteran Night and he was well past his prime, he would still come out and be Tommy Dreamer. I always popped. I always thought it was great.
Yeah.
And then this episode airs and I'm just like, oh my God, this guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
This afternoon, I'm watching an old wrestling program and there's Tommy Dreamer and I'm like, ugh.
Well, someone in the episode even said, it's all about like never meeting your heroes. And I'm like, yeah, I always hear that. That's always the story, right? Never meet your heroes because they're sure to disappoint you.
We have heard that many a time. Yeah. And I think in our cases, we've lucked out.
I mean, yeah.
I've had the one bad experience with a wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Which,
No, you've had several bad experiences.
I think it's great that this wrestler has got a resurgence and is back on TV. But as far as like interacting with him, nah. He was an asshole.
All right. So hit me. So what were the circumstances that happened after this episode?
So Ric Flair, he had several different ad campaigns running for several different companies. All have been pulled.
Yep.
AEW, well, the dirt sheets were all saying that, yes, there's dirt sheets for wrestling.
Okay.
Rumors.
Yeah.
All the rumors were saying that Ric Flair was going to be going to AEW because he left WWE to go work with his son-in-law or future son-in-law, whatever the case. Probably not going to happen now.
No.
Nothing was announced officially, but he said recently that alluded to that. There are things that happened on the AEW programming that was alluding to Ric Flair. And he was just on a recent podcast where this was brought up. And he said this was the worst. I mean, he said something to the effect of like, just when things were going great for me. And he offered the host of this podcast to let the episode come out, invite me back on here because I have things to say.
Oh, sure.
So apparently Rick he either has a list of names he's going to drop and just squeal on everybody, or he again adamantly has claimed this was all alleged. But
yeah.
But basically all his ad campaigns are gone. They might be running in his like hometown area, but as far as the national campaign, gone. Tommy Dreamer, as I stated, was he was backstage. He was a performer and he was backstage. He was a booker, I think, currently, or an agent. Either way, Impact said, pack your bags, get the fuck out of California.
Wow.
Or wherever the fuck Impact is. I don't know.
Well,
Florida,
yeah, sure.
California, Georgia. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But pack your bag, get the fuck out. They suspended him indefinitely, so I guess that's not technically a firing, but
yeah, it's on the way to a firing.
It's on the way. All the ad campaign people said that they are going to do their due diligence and either come back to it or drop it. Drop the campaigns entirely.
Oh, sure.
And like I said, AEW never said, I got the hiccups, never said anything officially that he was coming. They just heavily alluded to it.
Yeah. Well, at least that way, obviously they were hesitant to even say anything definitive. So that means that they probably knew this episode was coming. Like someone must have known this was coming.
Oh, everybody that participated knew this was coming.
Right. And they're just like, let's see what happens. Let's see what the reception is and where it goes after this. And I'm pretty sure the reception was pretty bad for that guy. Yeah. But and deservedly so. Like it's people in those positions. I think of people like Chris Brown or R. Kelly, right? People who are in positions of celebrity and power who just get away with just whatever, and are still weirdly beloved by their fans. Like that always blows my mind.
I mean,
some horrible people are still beloved by their fans.
I'm in that camp where R. Kelly is a piece of shit. man, but Trapped in the Closet's one of the greatest pieces of like
okay,
hour and a half.
well,
If you get super stoned or maybe drunk, I don't know if things are fun to watch when you're drunk. And have that time, watch Trapped in the Closet, man. It's great. Yeah. It's educational. It's a it's a story about safe sex at the end of the day. Why R. Kelly's talking about safe sex to anybody is fucking beyond me. But
well, look, I mean, look, I still look. You can appreciate the work if you really want to, but I think that the artists themselves, deserve a good kind of loss of fandom, and it makes a lot of sense. And so to see kind of a little bit of a comeuppance for Ric Flair, even if it's just money, but I think for him that's important. I think he looks like he seems like the type of person where if you hit him in the money belt, that's like hitting him in the balls.
Right.
Like that is where he hurts the most.
And possibly way back in the territory days, if things came up, lawsuit type things, maybe the promotions took care of it.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
there were settlements done everywhere.
I'm sure. But to kind of wrap things up, it was a great episode.
Yeah.
It would be it's a hard watch, but I think it's a good watch.
Yeah.
I think a second viewing would be just as hard to watch than the first, honestly. But the two guys that are running that show are really nailing it, and I'm really enjoying what they've shown us so far. And I can't wait to see what comes next. I know that there's one coming up, and now I'm going to forget the guy's name. But back in the mid-'90s, he was homosexual. He was a homosexual, and he was hiding that truth from everybody because in the mid-'90s, that was not something you wanted to come out with.
Yeah, right. It was still kind of a budding thing that people didn't say outright. People didn't come out of the closet.
So
coming out of the closet was kind of a thing that happened in the 90s. Yeah.
But like I remember seeing that guy. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not doing it justice. I'm not selling it, Francis.
No, you are, because now you have to in order to know who it is, watch.
Now you got to watch. You got to watch this Thursday, which I think it's that this.
I think that was the only thing that annoyed me about the video when I was watching it, because like instead of commercials, they're like Thursday. Watch. Dark Side of the Ring.
What you got to remember though, that was a edited down, no commercials. And I don't even think that was a Vice channel. I think that was somebody that just like took the episode and put it out.
Oh really? Because I didn't look at the link. I just clicked it and watched, and I was like, oh my god, stop telling me about. I know it's Thursdays. I know it's at 8. I know. Stop telling me. I know. It was like every 5 minutes.
That's
telling you. Like,
that's cable/network TV. So
see, I've been spoiled by streaming, man.
Yeah, I know. But I think that that kind of hits all the bullet points that I had.
Yeah.
Like I said, great episode. Definitely encourage everybody to go out and check it out. Vice channel.
Even if you don't like
Vice
wrestling,
TV.
It's still fascinating.
Yeah, Francis is not a wrestling fan whatsoever.
Like I said, I didn't know any of the names, and then I needed Josh to remind me, oh, that guy's name is like Ric Flair, and this other guy's name is this. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So, but it's fascinating. It really is, because it's people confessing, and it's drama.
There's drama. Francis, I did add the banner there at the top of the screen there for the goal of hitting 20 followers. We got that up there. I had to put a thing on there for a countdown because it wouldn't let me do it without it. But if we don't hit it in 7 days, I'm just going to change it to the end of October. But we are on the road to 20. We are also on the road to 2,000. Just for Francis. So yeah. Follow, like, subscribe.
Smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to ring the bell.
No, violently ring the bell.
Violently ring the bell so you get notified whenever we're online. Don't forget to tweet about us and to Facebook us.
Yes. What other douchey YouTuber things do they say?
It's your boys, Francis and Josh.
No, Francis, we can only do that when we are together and we are at a show and preparing to go have breakfast. That is the only time we can throw out "It's your boys." Otherwise, it's just me and the other guy.
And then we have to do that. And then one day we have to record in the trailer park after dark restaurant.
That bar.
Yeah, with all the shopping cart
Yes.
seats and the actual trailers in the restaurant where you can eat.
Yeah, that place was rad.
Yeah, it was. I liked it a lot.
But yeah, follow us for all of these fun antics that we go on. Francis, I started to, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell so you can stay notified when the new video is posted. Yes. What she said. Yesterday, Francis, I started to make a pentagram account, a Patreon account.
Good.
Which is something that we need to talk about when we turn this off.
Sure.
But so that is in the works, everybody. I do have a Patreon account in the works, so you can get extra content from us.
Bonus episodes.
Bonus nachos. No, bonus episodes from us, or bonus content, or Francis changing bikinis, apparently.
What I'll do is I'll just do a half hour of my Ronald Reagan impersonation.
Yes. No. Well, you'll read the daily headlines.
I'll read. No. There's got to be something. I'll be like, I'll read "Trapped in the Closet" as Ronald. Reagan.
No. You'll read the lyrics to WAP
Where
as Ronald Reagan.
Ash Pushy.
And then I will do the same thing, only I will do my impression of Gilbert Gottfried doing the same thing.
Wow, they think. Oh man, that was the best. Learning about that was one of the best things ever.
That really was. So with all of that said, Francis, it is the end of the show.
Wow, extra long episode today.
Extra long? Well, there was more meat to get through on this sandwich. And we really had to chew through it and make sure we weren't just skimming over things, as sometimes I tend to do.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Sometimes I realize that I like things on the surface level a lot more than I like things deeply. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes
I do. I had to change it because I keep hitting it, so I should probably keep it above my head. No. So I'm not hitting the thing, and it's all like,
I try to flip it vertically for LSPDFR. Mm-hmm. Same thing, because I keep hitting it, or I bash my face
hitting it.
I've
been hitting it all episode. I'm like, damn, I gotta stop hitting this thing.
Well, Francis, where can people find you where you're hitting your microphone less on your content?
Yeah, mostly because I'm like half asleep when I do my show. But there's a show called Online Friend Simulator at Sincere Sarcasm, where I just talk about, for those of us who feel like no one understands us and no one understands what we're going through, because the world is crazy and it feels a little lonely out there. I'm here to help you feel a little less lonely by saying, hey, I get where you're coming from. Also, tomorrow, a big show for Super Geeked Up. We have guest Gigi Edgley from Farscape and Star Trek Continues. So we actually have a real person who's been on TV doing improv and games with us tomorrow.
You forgot.
So check that out.
You forgot something, Francis.
What's that?
Friend of the show, Gigi Edgley.
I mean, I guess she's like adjacently friend of the show.
No, friend of the show.
Oh, friend of the show. Okay.
Shelly interviewed her for Back When.
I interviewed her too. She interviewed it for Back. She was the one who interviewed it. I just videotaped. That's right. I wasn't even there when they interviewed. She did the interview.
So, friend of the show, Gigi Edgley.
Friend of the show, Gigi Edgley, is on at Super Geeked Up tomorrow, supergeekedup.com, and you get to see us geek out and do some weird impersonations and whatnot. So, she's cool too. Like, she's really just like she's one of the sweetest people. So, go check it out. There you go.
I'm going to figure out a way in the half hour that I get to watch the show to force Ronald Reagan And somehow in that first question,
I'll just do it.
That first question, I will force some sort of Ronald Reagan so everybody can experience it once again in a live setting once again.
I was hoping you'd say a gold prospector, but I'll do the Ronald Reagan.
Well,
I know, because like I said, I'm gonna find a way to put the gold prospector.
You should just bust that one out without warning.
No prompt needed.
But find Francis all over the internets. You can find me all over the internets at 303_ninja on the Twitters, 303ninja on the Instagram, and what is the website? POIpodcast.com, the POI podcast at gmail.com. Text, voicemail, call into the show. We haven't had anybody do that.
You know what you need to do? We need a live call in. Like we need.
That's
to
what
do
I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. Call into the show live. We can talk about wrestling. We can talk about whatever the topic we are talking about. If you have something to say, call in. We will put you on the show. It'll be cool. If you don't want to be on the show, voicemail us. I'll play your voicemail, or if you don't want that, I will paraphrase it. Text, and then I'll just read it. You can do all of that. 314-764-7631. It spells out POI Pod 1 Synergy. POI Podcast on the Twitters. That's everything this week. Francis, do you have anything else to add before the music runs out with the 20 seconds it has?
This is ABC, and this is episode 123.
BBD.
Oh, do, re, mi, ABC, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I was going the East Coast family.
Oh, I was going Jackson 5.
Yeah, you had ABC, BBC, ABC, BVD. There was one other group. The East Coast family was Belle Biv DeVoe, Another Bad Creation, and another group.
It wasn't. I don't know.
There was three.
NWA.
Fuck no. Not even the same fucking sport. Once again, Francis. Anyway, right. The music has run out twice. I'm not going to play it again. Thank you, everybody, for watching this. If you watch it on the YouTubes, do all the things that we said before by liking and smashing and doing all that shit. We will be back here again next week around 7:30ish Mountain Time. Did a little late tonight, but we're going to try and get back on a little tighter on that 7:30 next week. Hopefully, Savannah will be back with us in 3 weeks or so. Hopefully.
Just in time for Thanksgiving?
Just in time for Thanksgiving. Well, then she'll be out here. So then maybe we'll have to... ideas. But anyway, thank you, everybody. And we'll be back next week. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Record stop.